What's up, Ham Fam? Welcome back to another episode of Heart as a Mother. But before we begin, in the spirit of reconciliation, we want to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 7 territory, the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Nations, including Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai, the Tsuut'ina Nation, and Stoney Nakoda First Nations. We acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. So for those of you who are new and just tuning in, we are Har and Jizzy, just two moms creating a safe space for other moms, dads, and anyone really to share the joys and the realness that comes with parenthood while also being able to laugh at yourself, because if we don't, we all lose our shit. And as usual, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Harleen.
Hey, everybody. Oh, my God. Okay, so we're back at the studio again. I'm like... I'm already laughing because our production guy was like, you need to stop slouching. And I'm like trying to stay frame. Anyways, my head's going in different directions. Anyways, so it is so good to be back. And by the way, we have learned to TikTok. Actually, I have. Giselle's so good at it.
I'm not.
It took me, I think it was 4 hours to make one video. But it was so much fun because at the end of the result, it was pretty cool. So you guys should check it out because we are now on TikTok. So just a quick reminder, if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you haven't, also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, so you won't miss a thing because we are officially back and we're not going anywhere. So stay tuned for all these amazing things coming your way. So right now, I have to say that it's been a real struggle with kickstarting and motivating at least. For this, because I have another job, but I feel like I'm like dropping the ball. Like, do you feel that since we've gotten back?
I think since summer ending and school starting and this starting, yeah, it's been quite a struggle. But I don't know. Like, oh, by the way, if anyone wants to teach us TikTok, who can be our TikTok consultant?
Like legit, just slide into the DM.
I'm too old for this shit, guys.
I have no idea how to stitch anything. I don't know, but I love watching TikTok because it makes me laugh. Like I could do it for hours.
It's funny.
So before we introduce our awesome guest, today's episode is brought to you by Two Pharmacy, a natural market. It's family run and operated for over 30 years. They get it. You only want the best for you and your family. Be sure to visit Two Market at www.twopharmacy.ca. Did I just screw that up?
You said Two Market. It's
Two
Pharmacy.
Markets. Two Pharmacy.
Two
I am
Pharmacy
so
and
sorry.
Natural Market.
Two Pharmacy. I am so sorry. So now to the good stuff. I really just sorry. On to the good stuff. Today is a special episode because it is a dope dad episode.
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't done one in a long time. Well, what is it? It's been like
at least several months.
So this one is a good one. So after 12 years of working as a journalist, writer, and marketer, and briefly as a caddy on the LPGA tour, I know, right? He became the proud father and a stay-at-home dad to his daughter, Clara. Shortly after her birth, he started Dashing Dad, a blog and social accounts detailing his life as a stay-at-home dad. With the birth of their son, Riker, he went back to work and now works full-time from home as a content manager. So as Dashing Dad, we want Matt has been nominated for Best Blogger, the Best Influencer in 2019, and 2019 Best of Calgary Awards. He's also been interviewed on CTV Morning Live and featured in magazines Best of lists across the country, including being one of the 12 parenting blogs you should follow in Canada and one of Canada's top 50 parenting blogs and websites. We want to welcome Matt. Sorry, I'm like struggling with my words today. Jesus, Harley.
That was a wordful. And can we talk about TikTok for a second? Because
yes, please.
I'm obsessed with TikTok. I didn't know you were on there.
Oh my God.
Now I'm excited to see you on TikTok. I want to see more
Are
dances.
you on TikTok?
I'm on TikTok.
Okay.
I'm not like officially on TikTok.
Do you have a couple videos?
I have a couple videos, but they're not.
Don't they take forever to curate?
Yeah, they do.
Like, I don't understand how people have the time. Yeah.
No. And I don't know all the tricks to make.
Yeah,
them
me
cool,
neither.
So, no, I'm more of a voyeur of TikTok than I am a participant. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for being
we're
here.
so excited. We're like, we've been following you for quite some time.
Yeah, we were like, hey, we should get Dashing Dad on our podcast. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I'm thrilled to be here, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's quite impressive resume. I like, first of all, bow down to you because it's really impressive. Like, at all while being at home with your kids, like, how do you even get anything done? Because God knows, I have one kid. I don't do nearly as much as you do, but my kid is always bothering me when I'm working from home, and it's like, how do you get anything done?
I don't know. I think I'm learning as I've gotten older and learning more about myself that I actually don't like just sitting still and doing nothing. So when the kids go to bed, I am doing something. I'm a writer. I enjoy writing, so I was always gonna do writing in some capacity anyway. So I figured, if I'm going to do it, people might as well read it.
Do you think that you get more work done at night and all your creatives come out at nighttime? Because I know mine does. I can't do shit in the morning. I was like, what? I have to write something? I was like, don't ask me.
No, and I'm like, you know how there's those two type people. I'm a night owl, 100%.
Yeah.
And don't even talk to me before 10 a.m. And then when it comes to midnight and I should be sleeping because I got to get up for work in the morning, that's when I'm like, oh my God, I have so many great ideas. And I was just talking to my wife this morning because I'm like, last night at 12:30, here's what I was thinking. I'm going to do this and this and this. And she's like, you should have been sleeping. I only got 6 hours of sleep last night. So I had a couple coffees before I came here.
That sounds like a lot. 6 hours.
Sounds like a lot.
Yeah, that sounds like
I get, after having a newborn.
Wait, did you say 6 hours is a lot of sleep?
Yeah.
That's true. I was going to say that because I thought you were going to say something else. I'm like, I'm lucky if I get 6 hours of sleep.
6 hours is really good. But you're right. You just had a newborn. So, Dashing Dads. Even though we kind of talked about it a little bit, how did you come up with it? Tell us a little bit more about it, and where can our viewers and followers find you?
Yeah, so dashingdad.ca is the blog. Like I said, I'm a journalist by trade, so I was always going to write, even if it was just for myself, but I figured if I was going to be doing it and telling these stories, I wanted it to be something that I put an effort in for people to see. It started as a blog. I'm a visual person, so I had an Instagram, but I hadn't really connected the two at first. And then as it grew, obviously Instagram and now TikTok and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and everything else is so much, like, almost way more than the blog. So I would say I almost put 100% more effort into Instagram now, dashingdad_yyc.c on Instagram, than I do on the blog. But I really just wanted to, at first it was, things to do with your kids. I was a stay-at-home dad. So I was spending a lot of time with my daughter at home, and I didn't want to be bored. I think one of the first things that I was worried about was being bored with my daughter and her, like, being bored with me and us not wanting to be home together. And, and now looking back, it's a ridiculous fear, but that's where it stemmed from, is I wanted to, like, what were some things that we could do together around the city? And then I would curate these lists and write these blog posts about our adventures around town. And then it just has grown and blossomed from there.
You know how you just mentioned that that was such a silly thing to, like, be scared of, like, what to do. You know what? That's the same thing I face. It doesn't matter. I really feel like you go through stages, because I have a 15-year-old and I have no idea what to do with him. Like, I'm always trying to be cool and creative of what I'm doing. And I overthink it so much, the fact that that simple things, like, because he started driving, he got his learners. The best way that we now, like, we spend time is he loves bubble tea and he'll go for a drive. So that means him driving my car, I'm the passenger going to go grab bubble tea, because his capacity with me is probably an hour to 30 minutes and he's just done hanging out with me, and then we end up getting into some kind of, like, stupid argument, like, you're so annoying, why do you keep asking that? I'm like, I wasn't intentionally trying to be annoying, why don't you love me, so I feel like it goes in stages. Do you feel like, I mean, babies, what to do, but then you got the toddler and then you got the preteen, or in between that, do you find that?
Oh yeah, I mean, my kids are only 2 and 4, so certainly you have more experience in that area than me. But I feel like the only constant is that everything's changing always. And just when you get used to that stage and that bit that you're like, oh, I'm comfortable, I know how to, and then they
Changes
completely.
again.
So
Yeah.
No,
Let's get your
100%.
mic a little bit closer, Matt. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
How's that?
Good.
Perfect.
So now you have 2 kids, but you started the blog when you only had 1.
Yeah.
So do you find that there's more to write about because you have 2 now, or?
Way more to talk about, way less time to do it.
Yeah.
Like
Gotcha.
way less time to do it. Yeah. And then even when I have the time, I'm exhausted and I'm like, I don't want to write or come up with content or anything. But of course now, as my Instagram has grown, I'm doing more collaborations and more work. And so I have these commitments I've made to brands or to people to create content for. So even when I'm exhausted, I got to go do that. So, which I'm very thankful for. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I have way less time, but I'm doing more.
Yeah. It is a lot of work being an influencer.
Well, we
lot.
can understand. I just now I have to tell to pharmacy. I'm sorry. I just, you know what I mean? I mean, we have a great relationship, but it is a lot of work. So we always talk about things that you see on social media, what things are optically. And there's some people, and I don't want to say all, it's just like, look at my perfect, I'm an influencer, this is it, I cut, it's like, no, it's not like that. And
no, not at all. Yeah.
And I really appreciate people who can openly put it on their social media or talk about it and say, hey, listen, yes, I'm an influencer. Yes, I do this, but look at my freaking house. Like, it's actually a disaster. That corner is only a small fraction of what's actually clean in my house. Is that something that you share on your social media, or are you blogging?
All the time on my social media. You're into my life, and my life is not clean and curated. And I tried for the very briefest at the beginning to have beautiful pictures and to everything to look good, but it's way more work, and that's not how I live my life either.
Yeah.
So I want to be genuine and authentic with the content that I'm putting out there, which is messy and a bit even talking about your house. We don't have furniture in one of our rooms, so that's now where the kids are. Well, we just moved, so we have no furniture in this one room, and then so it's just kids' play area there, but then there's an actual kids' play area next to the room that doesn't have any furniture, so it just spills everywhere, and then it's into the kitchen, and it's a mess.
It's just everywhere. There is, even though I have a playroom at home, it's not just the playroom that has the toys. It's literally everywhere, even my bedroom.
Oh yeah, it's like we live in a playroom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You just live in a playroom.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
I used to step on Jaden's little Hot Wheels, on the stairway, and I'd get so pissed off. And of course, when he was little, and he's like, "Oh," because you know how you have that little ledge on your stairs.
Yeah.
He would throw all of his Hot Wheels down the thing, and of course, when you step on it in the middle of the night because you're trying to do something, you're like, oh, we're out of all places, It's just it's crazy. It's like Murphy's Law.
I stepped on a rock right before I came over here because my kids are collecting rocks.
My
As
kids
if we don't
collecting rocks too.
fucking have enough rocks everywhere.
I
They
know.
need to come in the house.
Do they paint it and shit?
Sometimes they will paint it, but sometimes it's just this pile of rocks. It's just they're rocks.
Exactly. Last night that happened. I was like, Ava, can I throw out this rock? She's like, no. I was like, why? She's like, because I painted it. And I was like, you have these rocks everywhere. Anyways.
My daughter's line is always, no, it's so special to me.
Okay, then you
have
can't.
45 special rocks. They can't all be special.
Okay, speaking of special and special, so obviously they make things for you. Have they ever caught you guys throwing something, or that you threw something away and they asked where it was?
Oh, yeah.
What did you, I'm going to ask both of you, what did you say and what did you do with it?
For me, it's the McDonald's toys. It's the novelty of getting the toy in the first place, but then after that, it's like, I don't give a shit about it. And then one day I just threw it in the garbage, and she was tossing something in the garbage, and she's like, Mom, why is my toy in here? And I was like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't do it.
See, and I'm not the thrower outer, but my wife is ruthless. They'll create something and she's like, oh, that's great. And then it's in the pile. So,
but they don't ask though.
Well, she was caught once, and my daughter had a big meltdown about it. But I'm a big suck. Like if it were up to me, I'd have a whole drawer full of like everything she's ever made for me. So
That's so cute.
I have stuff from kindergarten from Jaden. It's been in storage for 15 years.
I'd probably be that mom too, for sure.
Oh God.
So as content curators ourselves, obviously this is a parenting podcast, and with Har having a 15-year-old and me having a 4-year-old, we always like to learn about people's different experiences so that we can talk about it. We can relate to more people through what we're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
So we always take stories from our friends or people we know if something has happened to them or whatever, and there's a story we want to cover. So when you curate your own content, do you kind of pull stuff from your dad friends, or when your dad friends, if you have dad friends who come to you for like advice or whatever, and you're like, yeah, maybe I should talk about this because there's probably a group of guys who are probably wondering the same thing. Like, do you ever do that? Just pull stories from your peers?
yeah, absolutely. And I think that as you become more comfortable in that role of a content creator, like now it just comes naturally to me like, oh, I was thinking about this today because this person said it, so that can tie into a post that I can do here, which is almost a shame, but I'm thinking about all the time of these conversations that we have that can tie into a post I can do later that would be a story poll that I could do about this, which maybe says something about me, but also it is just something that comes natural now from having done this for so long.
So speaking of content and friends and family, so obviously they'll see your social feed videos. Are they like, was that about me? Did they ask you that?
No, they haven't yet, but it's awkward because in the last year, I made a conscious decision in January that I was going to start being 100% authentically me. And that means that I have some strong political opinions about certain topics.
Yeah.
And they do not align with most of my family. So in that sense, it's awkward. But at the same time, it's almost nice because then when I go to these family functions, everyone already knows where I stand on it.
Yeah.
So
They don't got to ask
So
you.
if they're going to bring up, whatever it is, then you know what my opinion is going to be about it, and so it's if
You just
that's
send
your
them the link.
choice.
Just be like, read my blog post about that.
Yeah, we already talked about what, but talking about curating content, one of I think the unmentioned things about being a content creator is how many DMs you get sent, and the extremes of those DMs you get. Now, as a male, I think I get more positive ones than a female would, which is awful. But just from the fact that I'm a man, I don't get very many hate DMs. But the messages I get span any spectrum of things, whether it's something I'm talking about or not. Sometimes people that frequently message me are like, I had this thought today. What is your thought on it, in my DMs? And it can be taxing on your emotions, but also on your time. And so when I know I'm going to post something that is maybe controversial, I have to work myself up to the hundreds of DMs I'm going to get, because I try really hard to respond to every single one and to respond thoughtfully. So I need to emotionally be prepared for those interactions.
Well, we should take some tips from you when that happens to us, because I'm emotional.
Well, it's hard not to be, right?
Yeah.
You're putting yourself out there. And I know there's people that say, well, you're doing it, so you're putting yourself out there to be public. But my Instagram is not a democracy. I do not, it's me putting the content to you, and it's a one-way conversation if I want it to be. If you're coming into my space and being negative, I don't have an obligation to deal with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Just because it's on the internet, right?
Yeah, because they're the ones who are looking at your content.
Yeah,
so.
if you don't like it, move along. And I've lost
Exactly.
thousands of followers because of that attitude, but it's the best attitude for my mental health.
Yeah, and I really respect that too, because you have to be real, right? And you can't please everybody. But the problem with our socials, sometimes I'll be like, I want to say this, and then in the back of my mind, I'm just like, no, I'm going to get a lot of flack for it. And then I don't post it. And I think that's also why, because, we said that like our social game is kind of...
It's weak.
It's kind of weak. But it's because I feel like I'm holding back. Do you feel like you hold back too much?
You know what? I've one, coming from a marketing agency, I sign NDAs. So I think it's just been, I've been so private my entire life. Even like I have my own socials, but I also have this. I don't share a lot. Like I don't share myself a lot. And it's just funny because she does a lot of sharing, and I'm like, yeah, I know, and I'll like try to post something once a week, or I don't like I don't give a shit. And if you want to interact with me, we can do it in person, or you can reach out to me, because I like that interaction versus like social media, because it's a lot to handle.
It is. Yeah.
Even though I don't post anything and I read it, like you said, it's taxing reading it. And I'm shaking my head of how, and then it comes back to me like, how is humanity so fucked up? And it's getting worse. And I just finished telling Giselle this. We are so fucking far behind than we thought we are. You know, all the Black Lives Matter movements, the women empowerment, this and this and this. We aren't really that far. Yes, there's new laws and there's some movement. But if you look at the big picture, we're so far. Like, kindness shouldn't even deteriorate. It should always be forward moving. But it's not.
Well, but I think what the problem with social media in general is that I think genuinely the majority of people are good, and if I had to percentage it, I'd say 85% are good, but that 15% are so loud and they get so much attention. Like if we're talking about the politics in Calgary, we have the protests at the hospitals, which in the overall population of Calgary is a very small percentage. Like a majority of people agree with the vaccinations and agree with most of the things that are happening. But that small percentage that don't agree are so loud, and they're on the news all the time. And so you see it and you're like, well, yeah, the world sucks. And it does suck in a lot of ways, but I genuinely believe that where we are today is better than where we were 50 years ago. But the shitty part is so loud. And when it comes to social media, I disagree with a lot of people. I know people say, you don't want that silo in the echo chamber and you need diverse opinions. To me, that's bullshit, because it's so taxing on your mental health. And there's study after study after study that shows how taxing social media is on your mental health. For men, women, but especially young girls. And raising a young girl, I don't care if she curate to your friends, to everything you want to see. Don't give a shit if you get a worldview from social media. There are other outlets where you can get that.
And I always advocate, like, you and I can have different opinions and it's okay. But the best debate is when you can let me understand what your thought process and vice versa. And I've talked about this all the time on this podcast. So when I refer to that is when somebody's going to personally attack you and call you a fucking idiot, or you don't know shit, or you don't know, like, articulating and telling someone they're stupid. Like, that is just like, that's not even smart to say. Like, where's your debate then? Because I can see different points. So when I say like that part, it was just like, are you really good? Like, that's their opinion. It's fine. You can have your own, but to personally attack them and like even make racial remarks is kind of sad. Or you effing see you, later. And I'm just like,
Tuesday.
I was like, did you just call them that? Because that was totally uncalled for.
And it's taken me 38 years to get to where I am now, but it truly is really a reflection on that person more than it is on you. Right. And that doesn't make it easier to shrug off, but because it's still terrible, but it really is not you that is the issue.
So then going back to being your authentic self, because I think the reason why I hold back is because I've been so like jaded from internet trolls. Like, for example, I got so ripped apart on that Costco lovers group one time. Are you part of the Costco lovers group?
Yeah, well, not me, but my wife is.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, I can't leave that group because I'm hooked. But there was like this one time where everyone was looking for those Star Wars Squishmallows, and I got one and I posted it and I said, "Hey, if anyone's looking for these Squishmallows, they're at this location." I finally got one and I bought one for my daughter and my nephew. And then some people were like, "Oh, that's great," and then other people were just like, "Wow, way to jump the bandwagon," like, and all this, and I'm just like, okay. And a lot of the other Facebook groups that I'm part of, like the buy and sells, this one time I was selling these things because I ordered too many because it didn't fit my old phone, and then someone was accusing me of inflating the prices and like telling me she's going to report me. And then so now whenever I'm posting, I'm just like, oh, people are just going to rip me apart again. And like, how do you take that? Like, how do you, before you post something and you think, okay, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. Like, how do you just brush that off?
Because for me, it's going to happen either way. So it might as well happen while I am standing true to who I am and my values and what is true and authentic for me. And as long as I am confident in what I am saying and I truly believe whatever it is I'm backing or I'm saying, there's always going to be opposition. But it's easier knowing that I know who I am and my values and who I am as a person. I had someone rip me 2 or 3 weeks ago now, sent me like just 5 or 6 awful messages. I didn't even respond to them. And it's something that would have broke me 2 years ago. But knowing that I made a conscious decision to authentically post the things about who I am and my strengths and what I truly believe, I can stand behind that. I don't need to agree with everyone, and not everyone needs to agree with me, and that's fine. And like you said, I'm happy with civil debate. I have a lot of great civil debates in my DMs, but as soon as it gets to you're a fucking idiot, then I'm like, oh,
It's
okay.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's
no
not
point.
Then
that's not a
don't-
debate anymore.
Then don't follow me. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So speaking of, you've lost some followers. Do you find that you've lost some friends and like kind of alienated some family members because of the choices that you were making?
I don't, to my knowledge, I have not lost friends.
Okay.
I don't think I've alienated family to my knowledge, but again, I think because like I've always been who I am, so now it's just I'm more vocal about it, and I don't think that has taken anyone by surprise that really knows me. It's just now that my opinions are more accessible.
Yeah. When you had somewhat of a backlash, we talked about it being taxing on you. Did it affect? Obviously, it affected you. Did it affect your family? Like, did your wife see, like, all of these like followers or people just saying stuff to you? Like, did she notice a change, or was she like, keep going?
Yeah, my wife has always been super supportive, and she's not super involved socially herself anyway. So unless I like pointed out to her, I don't think she would particularly notice. But when it came to, I don't know the exact number, but I lost thousands of followers when I really came out against conservative government in Alberta. And I guess I had a bunch of conservative followers.
Oh my God, I should pound you right now.
So,
No, like in a good way, about conservative. I got in trouble for that one today.
yeah. So, and I was like, that's, I sort of expected it, and that's fine. It hasn't, I don't think it's affected my wife, but at the same time that I made this conscious decision, I was also in therapy working on myself. And so those two things kind of coinciding together allowed it to naturally grow and evolve together to a place where I was comfortable.
I love that you brought that up because we are always advocating for men's mental health on this show, and which is why we want to hear from dads too, because when we first started, we were like, there was a lot of dads reaching out to us and
moms. Crazy.
Then moms. Because moms have such a big like community of support, and you don't really see a lot in the dad community, right? But yes, we advocate for men's mental health 100%. But do you think that because you are openly saying that you've gone to therapy and that obviously mental health is an important thing for you. Like, is that something that you're trying to advocate for other dads too in your blog posts and what you curate and all that? And do they come out to you and say, wow, like, I'm glad you're saying it?
100%. And actually it's something that I've made the decision in the last month or so to grow even more than I've been doing. I have probably half a dozen or more posts on my blog about men's mental health and dealing with it, and my reasons for going through it, or through the loss of my dad, which was sudden and tragic and awful, and which set me on a path of needing to go through therapy. But I'm not glad it happened, but I'm glad that I got to a place where I went through therapy, because without the loss of my dad, I wouldn't have probably done it, or even knew that I needed to do it. So but because of that loss, it got so bad that I had to. I didn't really have a choice. So now coming through it and seeing how bad it was with my anxiety and how physically it was affecting me, to get to a place now where I feel really good, to see that change and how positive it can be on people is something that I really want to help other men advocate for. And when I speak about it on social media, I get messages from men all the time about, I'm so glad you're talking about this. It's not something I'm comfortable talking about out loud, but knowing that you went through it, I'm glad that I can reach out to you and talk about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because I don't know if it's actually a cultural thing, because men in our culture, you don't talk about your feelings. I mean, my dad never asked us to talk about our feelings. Do you think more so because that's how boys will be boys? That's how, like, you were raised, is just not to talk about your feelings? And how are you today showing your kids how to express their feelings without feeling like they need to bottle it up? Sometimes we often say, it's like, don't cry. Why are you crying for? You know what I mean? Because I've done that in the past.
Yeah. For your first question, I now being an adult and knowing how my dad was raised and what he went through, I can see why he was who he was, and how emotions it didn't get expressed properly, which was then the model that we were raised of how to deal with our emotions. Different generations, and I don't in any way have fault with him for being who he was, but now that it's more accepted for men to talk about their feelings, it's definitely influenced the way we raise our kids as well. So with our kids and talking about feeling, especially because they're so young right now, especially with my daughter, she's 4 years old, and a lot of different emotions that are new, a lot of new experiences, and a lot of big emotions. So, when she gets really upset, she punched me in the face a couple days ago. Like physically will lash out because she doesn't know how else to do it. And that's hard for me. And there are times when I need to take a break and take it back away from the situation. But for us, we authenticate that all feelings are valid.
Yep.
And I don't know if this gets mentioned enough, but Daniel Tiger, the TV show, is fucking amazing for teaching kids about feelings.
What is this?
It's
I don't know what it is.
It's like a PBS show
of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Okay.
But now it's Daniel Tiger, and it's a cartoon.
Yeah.
And
there's like little songs, and they'll talk about like,
I'm gonna watch this.
It's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to hurt someone.
Yeah.
And as cheesy as that is for us, but for my kids, she's like, oh, you're right. I just need to like grr out loud and I'll feel better. and it works so good for the kids. So authenticating that all feelings are valid and everyone has them, but also to like voice what those feelings are. So if you're feeling frustrated, that's okay. But it's not okay to smack your brother in the face because you're frustrated. So instead, use your words, and here's how you can deal with those emotions. That's how we work through it anyway.
That's awesome. So, guys, my favorite thing to talk about is childhood trauma, because I just think that if the premise of it was taught to us growing up, or we realized it. Don't you think if you realized it way earlier in life that things would have been so much easier? Like you could have more empathy for people and you understand why your parents are the way they are. Because it took me a long time. And I also went through therapy too before reaching that point. Like I went through so much just to find out about my own childhood trauma, finding that empathy for my parents, and then doing better with my kid, right? But it's like, it's my favorite thing to talk about just because it's so interesting how we all come to realize it. And because we do, and I mean, I guess some people don't, right? There's some people.
Yeah, not
don't.
everyone, but it's interesting how socially we've moved away, because I remember hearing growing up that I'm a redhead. If it's
Are
not
you?
obvious to the
I can't even tell.
yeah. So well, I'm wearing the mask. It's very obvious with my beard, but yeah. So I'm a redhead. So it was always like, oh, he's a ginger, so he's a fiery temper, and like that's kind of okay because he's a redhead. So it's expected that he's going to be mad all the time. On top of that, I was a type 1 diabetic, and you get sort of mood changes as your blood sugar changes. So when I had a high blood sugar, I would also get really moody. So redhead, high blood sugar, it's okay if Matt's angry because that's who he is as a person. So I grew up, and it's still something I'm trying to like get rid of in my own brain, that I'm not an angry person, but I grew up thinking I'm just an angry person, and that's just who I am, and it's just something I need to learn to deal with. I wouldn't say I'm the most calm person in the world today, but I at least recognize those feelings as not defining who I am.
Right. Exactly. So we talk about you curating your content from other dads and people who reach out to you, but who are some of the dads you look up to?
Oh, good question. I'm going to shout out Life with Benjamin. Is an Instagram account I follow, and actually I just met him in person for the first time. His name's David. His wife's Krista. They have kids, Ben and Eva. He's a guy I creatively look up to because check out his feed.
Calgary as well?
Yeah, Calgary as well. Life with Benjamin's his Instagram feed, and he does like amazing Photoshop work. So creatively, I look up to him, and also as a dad, we're I think similarly aligned in our philosophies on raising kids. He also copies my style all the time, which he's going to deny, but
That's okay. That's okay.
yeah.
Who do you think has given you the best dad advice?
Weirdly, women, I think, and
what was it?
well, I can't specifically point to any one thing, but a weird dichotomy of being a male influencer that's a dad. There's not a lot of us in North America. There's not a lot of us. So when I started, it was women that I looked up to in that space. But then even just my personality, I've always gotten along better with women than men anyway. So women are generally who I look up to. And you mentioned before that sense of community that women have, especially like mom bloggers and with mental health as well, which doesn't really exist with men. And it's something I'm starting to want to create and curate more from watching the success of women helping each other out, which I know is not, obviously I'm not a woman, and I know that that's not always the case, and there is competition and that sort of stuff, but I also see these beautiful partnerships with women and the community and the helping, and yeah, it's not something, at least online, that I see with men that I'd like to start curating. So I don't have a specific piece of information that one dad has said to me that has really clicked with me, but I see the way women are with the kids and how it's expected that they'll be with their kids, fairly or not, that I take a lot from.
So I want to dial a little bit back to you when you were a stay-at-home dad.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we talk about gender roles. Do you find that it is different as a stay-at-home dad and different as a stay-at-home mom, or is it just all the same?
No, expectations for a stay-at-home dad are bottom low. Like if you get the kid up and dressed in the morning, oh, bravo, my God, you have just
Dad of the year.
dad of the year swoon over you, which at first I found funny, and then after a year and a half I found offensive, because it set, first of all, it's an unfair expectation for stay-at-home moms that they should inherently be better at it, but it's also offensive to me that, well, I'm an idiot and I don't know how to raise my kids and like make them a lunch and get them dressed in the morning and do activities with them and grow and nurture them the same way. So, that I went into being a stay-at-home dad almost expecting opposition to it and to be ostracized a little, and I never got any of that.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I said, it was almost more the opposite of welcomed with open arms as this like weird, unique man, and oh my God, good for you, you can do it. And
Speaking of that, you got praised. Did your wife get ostracized by it? And the reason why I asked is because I'm a single mom, but somebody had ostracized me about the way that I worked, because I'm the only sole provider, and they're like, oh, I couldn't leave my kid like that, or I can't. Did your wife hear anything like that from family and friends?
Not from family and friends, but she has heard stuff like that for sure, and especially she is the breadwinner of our family. Has made more than me for pretty much our entire marriage, give or take. There's been a few years where it's been different, but for the most part, she's always been the lead in the family in that regard, and so has heard those things in the workplace. She worked in a very male-oriented office for a while, which was almost, I guess, a good thing, because they were just like, yeah, do whatever you think. But from other women, she would hear that from time to time.
First of all, kudos to your wife, because damn, it feels good to be a fucking breadwinner, to be like, it just feels good. Like, honestly, not that I'm,
Well, no, and intentionally for us, she's actually just started a new job. So we had this very specific life talk for months about, should we take it? What do we want our life to be, and how's it going to look? And if you're working full time, am I working full time, and what does that look like? And it is important to her and to both of us that she models that you can be a working mom, and that's okay.
And that's why we talk about that a lot. Have you heard of the show Working Moms?
Yep.
Have you watched it?
I've the first season.
Oh my gosh, it's just so relatable. Every episode, I'm just like, people need to talk about this. We always talk about working moms on this show because the gender roles are still so archaic.
Mm-hmm.
Like even now, my boyfriend thinks the same thing. Like sometimes if he's not getting enough hours at work or whatever, I'm like, well, I can pitch in more, and he'd be like, no. I'm like, well, why? We need it. And he'd be like, because I just don't want you to. It's just like a pride thing. But I think people need to let that go. And even in the workplace.
And going back, that's how we've been raised as men, as we're supposed to. And we're not valuable if we're not doing that, which is wrong. But
I think just we're really far from it. But I think people like us and like having the voice and the platform to speak out about it, I think that it helps, right? And I think we should keep doing that. So, that's great that what you're doing and the things that you want to spread and like the awareness that you're bringing to it. Because even like in the Catholic Church, like one of my cousins got married, and in the church, the priest was like, yeah, the man is supposed to come home to a warm meal and this and that. He just saying all this stuff. And I'm sitting there in the church and I'm just like, is this what they're teaching people? I could not sit there. And I'm we're just so we're just so far from equality because of things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, men, boys and young men are raised to that they're not worthy of love if they're not providing for their family, which I mean leads to a lot of male suicide because I don't have a job, therefore I'm not lovable, therefore and it hurts families. So I think it's ridiculous, and it's good that we are all starting to talk out about it.
Yeah,
because there's lots of us actually, and now that we have, social media is like a double-edged sword, right? And
Yeah.
there's a lot, and there has been times where I would sit at home and I would feel so alone because I truly felt I'm the only person that's going through this. And, not that I wish that it would happen to more people, but there are lots of people there. So it's nice when you hear that, hey, I struggle through this, or hey, let's talk about it, because it's important.
And you're not alone. Yeah.
And it shocks me when I put out some of these messages that I don't feel are particularly impactful, but are just talking about my own experience, and the messages I get from people of, oh my God, I literally thought I was the only person going through this. And I'm very open in my DMs. If you want to talk to me, we can talk for hours, and I'm happy to do that. And I enjoy doing that. And I can't get over these people that will just message me and send things and tell me about their life, and they don't know me, but they trust me with that information, and to be open with them. And that, it means a lot to me. It really does.
Yeah. And same with us too. Whenever we get people messaging us, like, doesn't matter who it is, and if we don't know them, but it just goes to show that you never know whose life you're going to influence, right? And it doesn't even matter what you have to say. There is somebody that could benefit from what you're saying. And I think that's probably why I feel like I shouldn't hold back so much, because I know that there's a community out there that think the same thing I do. But I guess it's just, yeah.
Well, I made a joke at our text message today, and I said, the shit that we're talking about, it's really fucked up. Like, it could be like a array of everything. And I was like, I would never tell people this. But I'm sure if we started reading it, people right now would be like, I talked about that.
Yeah.
So, I don't think we should care, but it's whatever makes us uncomfortable, is, because we never want to be judged by people. And I think that's what people are afraid of. So speaking of being judged or whatnot, because you are like a local celebrity in Calgary.
No.
Okay, but do people recognize you? They're like, I know you.
You're Dashing Dad.
You're Dashing Dad.
I've been recognized twice, and once was when I was at the pool with my daughter, and so I'm in a bathing suit, and they're like, "Hey, you're Dashing Dad," and I was like, this is awkward. I'm not wearing a lot right now. Yeah.
How did you feel when they're like, hey,
I'm super uncomfortable with it. Frankly, I hate it, and it's a me thing that I'm learning to be okay with. But in fact, 2 nights ago, someone sent me a lovely message about how I was inspiring them, and they want to do more stuff like I'm doing. And I'm like, no, you're stupid.
Don't do it.
You don't want to do that.
You sent this to the wrong person. That can't be me.
Yeah.
So, no, it makes me incredibly uncomfortable.
That happened. That happened to me, and I messaged her because this lady literally quoted like the theme music to Hard as a Mother, and she's like, I'm your hostess with the mostest. She literally quoted that, and I got on my phone. I was like, oh my God, there's this lady here, and she's like, your heart is a mother, and da-da-da. And she's like, where's Jizzy? And I'm like, I was kind of cheese, but I was kind of uncomfortable because I'm like, don't make a fuss about me. I'm like, like, it's just me.
No.
But it was uncomfortable.
And I'm sure you've seen the social media, the people that are comfortable, like, oh my God, I love that you guys send me these messages, and they post them. And like, I physically can't do that because it makes me so uncomfortable that people send me kind messages. I almost would rather the hate. I'm just kidding. Don't send me. It's almost more expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just humble. You're just a humble dad. That's all.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I have a hard time of accepting like compliments, or even my therapist is like, Harleen, just say thank you. And I was don't rebuttal like, oh, thank you, but da-da-da-da-da. Like, she's like, just say thank you. It's done. It's done. Why can't you accept a thank you because you deserve it? I was like, I don't know. Do I really deserve it? It's my job. Like, it's crazy how complex our mind is, and how we like train and teach ourselves. We don't deserve something.
My daughter's been great for that, because she'll, like, out of the blue, she's like, oh my God, Dad, I just love you so much. And it coming from anyone else, I'd be like, no, shut up. But from her, I'm like, oh, thank you, Clara. I love you too. So it's really forced me to like, even part of me is still like, you're my daughter. You don't know any other dad. So of course
You're supposed to love me.
Yeah. But so I'm still uncomfortable with it, but it's forcing me to accept compliments.
Cute. So Clara, you said just started school.
Just started kindergarten. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I guess is there any other parents that like know what you do and Clara's dad is Dashing Dad YYC.
There was one parent, but that child is in a different class. So, to my knowledge, no one knows. And this is that fine line with being a social media personality that I find uncomfortable. I don't take pictures of my kids. I don't want pictures of my kids' faces on Instagram. I don't want them recognized. I would probably quit the whole thing if a mom came up and said, "Oh, you're Clara, you're Dashing Dad's daughter." That would be the end of it for me, because there's a lot of creeps on the internet. And so I want my kids to be safe. So know that I would find that really uncomfortable if someone did.
Like, you find it uncomfortable when someone recognizes you, let alone your kid.
Let alone my kid. Yeah.
Wow.
So you got a lot going on. How do you have your own self-care, and how do you have, because I don't know
ask him how to keep things spicy in the bedroom?
I was going to say sexy time.
That's her favorite question to ask all our guests, just because she knows that.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know. I'm nosy. Come on, guys.
Self-care is a foreign concept to me for the most part. No. Self-care wise, I am a huge baseball fan, so to the annoyance of my wife, I watch baseball pretty much every night. I record the Blue Jays games and I watch them, and that's my time to like turn my brain off, and I can just watch baseball and do that.
Yeah.
Sexy time wise, I don't know. Does anyone have tips? Because my God, that's like, especially with young kids, like, even when the opportunity arises, then to have the energy, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it never lines up, hey?
No,
your
it
free time
doesn't.
and your energy. Yeah.
Or if your energy lines up, your partner's doesn't.
Yeah,
It's like to get both of you on the same page at the same time is...
It's a lot of factors.
And I don't drink. I feel like if I drank, then at least there might be some drunk interaction. It's not that, so...
Well, we had a tip, actually, from one of our past guests, Lisa Webb. Have you heard of Lisa Webb?
Yes.
Yeah, so she's part of like Wine, Women, and Wellbeing.
Yeah.
We asked her the same question, and she said, "Well, we have this code word where it's like we ask the kids, you want to watch a movie, and then when the kids are all set up, and it doesn't even have to be at nighttime. When the kids are all set up watching a movie, they're like glued to the screen, and then
They're like, "Let's go time."
Yeah, just quickie."
Yeah, we got to find something like that works, because it's like our kids have this sixth sense. As soon as we step out of the room, even if we just are like from the kitchen to the living room, and then I can hear Riker go, "Daddy, where are you?" I'm like, I've been gone for 3 seconds.
You're like, I haven't even unbuckled my fucking belt yet, and you're looking for me.
Yeah, or even if I just got to go like pee, like I'm gone for 3 seconds.
Oh my God.
Okay, let's talk about this bathroom thing,
Yeah.
because she always posts with Ava.
Yeah.
She's like, "Hi, Mom," and she's like jamming shit under the door.
Yeah.
And
She'll be like, "Can you see my fingers? Can you see my fingers?" And then she'll throw stuff.
What is with the fingers?
Yeah.
My kids do that too, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Hi."
Yeah,
under
and
the
I'd be
door.
like, "Oh my God, I cannot shit in peace."
Yeah.
And then she'll like throw things underneath, like, "Mom, can you see this? Can you catch this?" And I'm like, I had to explain to her, like, bathrooms, when people are in bathrooms, that's their private time, and because if she could, she would be in there with me.
Yeah.
Like, I have to lock the door.
That's what we've done as well. We're like, we want privacy in the bathroom for ourselves, but also for you. If you need alone time or you want privacy in the bathroom, you just say, "Dad, I want privacy," and I'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
So we were out, I forget where we were, but we were out somewhere. She's like, "Dad, I need privacy in the bathroom." I'm like, "Great, you have it." And now I can remind her of
That's
that
great.
when
Yeah.
I need it, when she's knocking on the door. "Dad, I just wanted to tell you about this one thing." You're like, "Clara, I need about 45 minutes of privacy." No, I wish.
Yeah, that's a work in progress in my house.
well, you know what? At least that's your problem. Just wait till they get a bit older. Well, I have a boy. He'll like text me, and he'll be like, or if I don't, because sometimes I work from home, and he'll try to phone me, and then he'll try to phone me again. I was like, if I don't answer the effing phone, like, I'm busy. So he'll be like, hi, are you home? I was like, no, why? What's up? He's like, oh man, there's no toilet paper. And I was like, what are you going to do? Like, it's like a thing. So I'm just like, why do you sit down and then look? You should look to see if you have toilet paper before you sit down. But that's a thing in my house. It's like, I need toilet paper. Like, it's crazy. Like, do you ever sit down and then, like, do you look to make sure there's toilet paper before you sit down? Because I do.
I must, but I don't. I haven't consciously thought about my toilet paper situation.
Now you're going to think
before.
about
No,
it.
no, every time I go, I'm going to now.
Just be like, I'm sitting down because Harleen said to check to see if there's toilet paper. Because that's like important. Because it would fucking suck.
Yeah, especially if you're home alone.
Yeah. I asked Jaden too. I was like, what'd you do? He's like, oh, Mom, I don't want to talk about it. I was like, did you touch any of my walls or my doors? That's the
I
only
need to
thing.
shower for a few days. Yeah.
Well, that's what you guys are going to get into when your kids get a little bit older.
I look forward to that. Yeah.
Well, I think that it's a poo problem all the time. Like,
it never stops.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think it does.
You have a kid, and I don't think that's talked about enough. But to new parents or people thinking about having kids, is how often you're going to talk about shit.
Yep, and care about shit,
and like
care about someone else's
the
bowel
shape
movements.
and the color,
Yep.
and it doesn't get talked about enough.
Okay, first of all, when I took Jaden home, it took me so long. Like, I was gonna vomit. Like, I was like literally like this, and I'm like, and that's my mom. My mom's like, really? I was like, I was like, it was just so smelly. Like, I always put something over my nose.
That's so funny because I have nieces that are a little bit older than my kids, and with them I was like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. But with my own kids, not that I love it, but I was like, it's much more manageable with my own kids.
And it has to be. Otherwise, you're going to gag every single time you have to change a diaper. That's a lot of fucking gagging.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I did with Jaden, and then I was like, ugh, I just couldn't.
Especially when they inevitably shit all over you, and then then you're done.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm kind of, not really. No, I shouldn't say that. Jaden's going to watch. She's like, you fucking told her. She kind of had a little bit of an accident.
It was one time.
Because you had your second when Clara was 2 then, right?
2.5.
She had 2 under 2.
No, she was 2.5.
Okay, but you still had 2 sets of diapers, yes.
She pretty much was potty trained right after he was born. So
That's
by
amazing.
2.5?
Yeah, that's so good.
Wow.
Yeah, right before 3.
Okay, well, why don't you tell the parents watching tips? Because I do actually have a friend that's like, I have my fucking kids shitting and fucking peeing everywhere because they're trying to toilet train.
I have no tips. It just when they're ready, is my tip, I guess, because she started, like hiding to go to the bathroom and showing those signs that she was ready. And we asked her, do you want to try going on the potty? And she said yes. And there were some accidents along the way, but I'd say on the whole, we were pretty lucky. So I don't generally have any tips.
How many times did you have to pick up shit on the floor?
Once, maybe twice.
Okay, that's not so bad. How about you?
Well, she shit when I was in the bath with her one time. So that
lovely.
That was awful.
Oh, yeah. My little one has shit in the tub, and that one's never fun because it's like you're in there to take a bath to get clean, and then you shit in your bath water. So, but like with my daughter, she was potty trained, like fully potty trained, and then she regressed. Did your daughter regress at all?
When Riker was born, and with her sleep too, and her sleep was awful. I mean, she fought us as if she was being murdered every night to go for bed, and it was awful.
Yeah.
I was just thinking though, as we were talking about kids shitting on us, that if we could break that up into a social segment and then show it to teenagers as birth control, I mean, I think that would work perfectly.
Oh my God.
Okay,
that's
let's do it. Let's do another. We should do another
shit segment.
We're like, it doesn't even have to be like a podcast like this. We'll like literally go live and just teach all the kids. I use references with my son. And I told him, like, you're probably going to have sex whenever you're going to have sex, but just be informed with it. And every time I see something, I'll be like, you see that basketball and like that bag. I was like, imagine that's a baby carrier you got to take to basketball practice.
Yeah.
And then he'll joke and be like, yeah, but my mom loves kids, and I'm pretty sure my mom's going to take care of my kid. I was like, Nuh-uh, I'm not. I'm almost home
I
free.
did that once already. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
like,
done.
I'm good, but I do remind him. And it's a joke, but he knows, like, you know, I try to make a joke out of it, but it's not a joke because I just tell him, I was like, the choices you make will, you know, if that happens, it's not like your life is over, but you who now are responsible for someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think that that's a point you even understand, even when you understand it. Like, when you're ready to have kids and you have kids, I don't even think it hits you how much of yourself you lose in that process. But I was thinking, as you were talking about that, there's a company in Calgary that is working on composting diapers. So
Cool.
they have this
nice.
like a sea can full of diapers that they're just collecting, waiting to have like enough that they can put it through this process. So if you want birth control for your son, take him to the sea can of diapers and be like, this is what your house is going to smell like.
It's going to smell like piss and shit.
Shit
Your
everywhere.
life is just full of shit. Literally.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even bother you.
Yeah. Because you do it. Because you love them.
Yeah. So, I feel like there's just not enough time. So thank you, Matt, for coming onto the show. Again, I hate the fact that an hour just goes by really fast because we can literally shoot the shit.
I can't believe that.
We can talk about shit forever.
Yeah, we could. I'll come back and do a whole
Okay.
episode on shit if you.
We will take that offer because we talk about shit probably 60% of our day. Like, I literally, as text her, I'll be like, I didn't have time to respond to you, but I'm responding and I'm taking a shit. And then you know what I tell her? I take a picture of my feet and she's like, oh, I believe you. Why'd you take a picture of your
I
feet?
didn't need the proof. Jesus.
I just do it anyways. I'm like, I'm taking a shit. Here's proof that I'm sitting at the toilet. It's kind of gross, but TMI.
You guys have a very close relationship.
We do.
That's nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but before we go, we want to ask you, what is your favorite thing to do with your kids? And the second question is, what lesson do you hope they will carry on with them that you've taught them?
Favorite thing to do with them is something that they want to do because of the excitement and the passion that they get out of doing that. So right now, for my daughter is riding her bike, loves riding her bike. So we hop on a bike and ride around her, even if I just even watch her doing it around our street. She loves that. For my son, it's anything with a ball, baseball, soccer, anything where he can use a stick to whack a ball. He loves it. So that's the favorite thing to do with them. As far as the second question was what I want them.
Yeah, like what lessons are you teaching them that you hope they'll carry with them for like forever or into adulthood?
I mean, there's lots. I think we're trying empathy, the ability to take in all opinions and just the whole world with empathy. Not everyone is going to agree with you. Not everyone's going to have the same viewpoints as you. Not everyone's going to like you as a person, but like yourself, love yourself, and it's okay that not everyone likes you, but also that I'm here and be who you want to be, whoever that is. I don't care as long as you're happy. I'm here to support you.
I'm going to say all those things to my daughter tonight when I put her down. That's so sweet.
But you know what? She does. Like, I always tell her, like, when I see her daughter, I'm like, do people think we're fucking crazy, two crazy people? Like, she's 5.
She's 4.
Oh, sorry, 4, and I'm 39. You have to see the way we greet each other. It's like no one fucking exists. Just me and her. That's it.
Which is amazing.
I love it.
And yeah, for our kids, we're trying to instill that like strong sense of self, which one of the ways we do that is every night when we put them down for bed, we give them words of affirmation, which I feel like is a nice way to end this off on. So we say, you are brave, you are strong, you are wise, you are smart, you are kind, you are loving, you are beautiful, and you are loved.
Oh, that's awesome. I do the exact same thing with
Yeah.
my daughter. And I get a lot of shit because she doesn't pray before bed. And
That's a prayer itself.
I'm just like, but she says all this other stuff, which is more important. Anyway, that's another podcast.
wait, if you want me to come back for that conversation.
Oh, we are
Not
shit and affirmations.
We're going to have a lot of stuff to talk
Shit
about.
and then religion, and then I'm on back.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, I can't wait for that episode. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Matt. Like Har said, we can talk to you forever. So you have to come back here.
Sounds great. I'm in.
Yeah, so thank you again for coming on our show. It's been great to see this perspective from another dope dad. And then to everyone else watching or listening, we're still in a pandemic and we just finished the elections and it's currently heated in all provinces and parts of the world. So whatever your stance is, just remember to be kind. And this is something we should be showing as an example to our children. So at the end of the day, love yourself even on the hardest days. Bye, everybody.
Bye.